Aight, what's really going on? Bitcoin cryptocurrency going to be taking a look at XRP, Ripple against US dollar Tether on the Binance chart. Going to be taking a look at some of the technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be assessing some key levels that we could find another bounce off of. We're going to find support as we appear to be interacting with resistance as we are just kind of coming out of the kind of big bounce off of a kind of key level. So we're going to be assessing where the next kind of lines of support are, if we're going to continue downward or if we can kind of rally to some new higher highs. Now, to quickly recap this kind of recent price action here, we've had this crazy zone of sideways for several months, realistically. We were pretty sideways for a good like 132 days there, roughly. We traded, kind of under the, 77 cents and above, lows of 17 cents kind of thing for those like 100-something days. And so finally, now that we've broken out from that kind of crazy volatile range of accumulation that we can been bouncing up and down from, we were able to rally like tens of percentages since the kind of beginning of the month here, since April 1st. We've rallied 252%, and we are currently 139% above prices back at the beginning of this month. And so we appear to be seeing the pretty significant rejection off of the $1.96 level there per XRP, and we are so far coming out of a what was a 54% kind of pullback, and we are currently 31% away from that swing high there. And so with such volatile moves like this, I do believe from a technical perspective that we are interacting with resistance at the moment, and I suspect resistance to be present kind of within sort of this range, roughly ish kind of thing, is my sort of like resistance zone that I think we could get slapped and beaten in for a period of days before perhaps closing above and continuing the uptrend. We could very well see rejection here from this kind of zone and come back down to retest kind of prior support levels before kind of continuing upward again. I do believe in the long-term XRP is quite bullish, and we could very well see the multi-dollar XRP. I mean, we got rejected just under $2 there, and so I feel like the multi-dollar XRP is not very far-fetched at the moment, but from a technical perspective, as it stands kind of right now in the very, very short term, I personally suspect a further pullback to solidify support. I mean, a much more short-term bullish level of support will be around, I do believe, around the $1.30 level there. So I mean, if we realistically hold almost pretty much where we are, not much lower, and we start kind of closing and creating some kind of smaller, higher lows and start closing upward, we could be way more short-term bullish, and we can expect some higher highs sooner than later. But at this kind of point in time, based on how aggressive this bounce was from support around $1.03, this like 30% kind of bounce, 40% kind of bounce, and over the couple days, I do believe is going to be enough to justify some sell-off and some sideways and some some pullbacks to occur. Because a pump like that is 40% ROI in a couple days is more than enough gains to want to take profits. And so I do believe that is what's happening at the moment as we interact with this bit of resistance here under $1.50 and above kind of $1.48, maybe $1.40 round level there. And so when we consider EngineeringRobo along with these Fibonacci lines of sacred angles and geometry, we can see not only some key levels I believe we can kind of interact with in the upcoming kind of days here, but we have these buy and sell suggestions printing what could suggest some kind of continued sideways or downside. And so I mean, if we recap the kind of previous sort of buy and sell suggestions here, we have early birds, buy 4, super buy, moon, all these buy signals coming in as we consolidate along 24 cents kind of. We rallied upward, got rejected off of 79 cents, stayed sideways. At the end of that kind of sideways, we had the sell for and hell return before this pump. So we had a sell for and hell at the end of this consolidation. We had a big bounce off of a key level, the 46 cents there, retraced up, printed a lower high relative to the swing highs back in like back around 66 cents and like the 70 cents kind of thing. So once we printed that lower high, getting rejected off of pretty much 62 cents there, we rallied all the way back down to levels that we came from around 24 cents and then past 24 cents even. And so here, that is an example of prices bouncing after a sell signal and then continuing downward. Here's an example of prices holding after a sell signal and continuing sideways. But during this sell 4, we maintained sideways like in bullish consolidation, we had this moon signal still present to kind of give us hope that we could kind of find support and continue upward. So even though that sell forward was in play during this kind of couple weeks at the end of February to the kind of middle of March there, this moon was still the bullish sign suggesting that we could continue upward. And so now here in this most recent price action, not only do we have the sell for present, but also a hell, which is much more similar to the price action back in December there of last year. And so if we were to see something similar to this, such as this rejection, consolidation downwards, sell signals, a bounce, we could suspect prices to kind of continue back down, perhaps past this 0.5 Fibonacci level here through that support around $1.06 kind of thing, and we could interact with perhaps this next Fibonacci line around 0.32 or 81 cents. And so I feel like that could be a very significant support level. I think the round kind of levels around like 75 cents, 80 cents, I think those are going to be some nice psychological support levels that I believe we could come down to as we consolidate in a more kind of bearish manner. If we don't kind of find support above this kind of 0.618 line right now, I do believe we can kind of consolidate in a more bearish manner and find these kind of lower targets in the near future over the next kind of couple of weeks. And so, I mean, anything could happen in crypto. Realistically, we could have another like tens of percentages type gains over the next kind of few days if we kind of hold here and stay bullish. But personally, based on these sell suggestions and based on how aggressive this bounce was, I suspect at least some short-term pullbacks over the course of a couple days, if not some continued kind of days to perhaps a couple weeks of bearish reaccumulation to further support the uptrend long term. I believe the longer we can stay sideways, the more volatile and healthier we can break upward. And so, XRP does have a history of being sideways after a big move. And so this is yet another just large move for a period of sideways before we see what the next kind of big move will be. If we consider the fear and FOMO zone, just quickly here for XRP, we can see that rejection off of $1.94 correlated nicely with the FOMO zone. And so this is kind of one of the two options that occur when prices interact with the FOMO zone. And so in the FOMO zone, there is FOMO present, fear missing out. Traders will buy tops. They'll continue. They'll make rallies continue, and they'll like I said, they'll buy tops. So prices could skyrocket very aggressively and very unpredictably in a very volatile manner in the FOMO zone as FOMO is present. So traders are buying tops. They're buying dips. They're just buying it up. But slightly more experienced traders perhaps would be taking profit at these levels, kind of thing. That this is where very high sell pressure is present, and so the two kind of options that we have in the FOMO zone, like I said, are either a volatile pump, continued tops are bought, and we pump and we have a big blow off top and a wick and we come crashing down, or we interact with the FOMO zone for like a couple candles and then we get rejected from it entirely and we trade outside of it, just below it there. I suspect interaction with the FOMO zone to be inevitable in the near future. I definitely suspect we're going to get back up in there. If we were to print a like lower high and get rejected off of like $1.96 or like $1.95, just like if we were to print lower than $1.97, I would be kind of more long-term bearish in my opinion. Like a rejection off of there could send us all the way back down to lower targets that we came from. And so there's lots going on with XRP fundamentally and technically, and with the current volatility in the market, lots could happen at the moment. But like I said, I still suspect some downward, some downside or sideways, some reaccumulation, some more buying opportunities before we can see some higher highs again. If we consider the price of XRP against Bitcoin itself, the ever so almighty volatile, doesn't know what it's doing Bitcoin, we have clear support found around this purple zone here of under 890 Satoshi and above 824 Satoshi was the key kind of support zone that we found support in. Rallied up, crashed through the 1526 resistance to smash through the 2263 Satoshi resistance, and then now we got rejected off of the 2892 Satoshi resistance. And so we've now come down, and I do believe we're going to have to now solidify that previous 2267 resistance as support. And so I suspect this to be the kind of key level that we're going to be kind of trading in sideways for a bit, perhaps wicking down below in a kind of aggressive manner, but I do believe the overall bullishness is still ever so abundant, and we can kind of continue upward upon finding support. And like I said, I do believe support will most likely be found around kind of like 2261 Satoshi. If we turn on EngineeringRobo, along with these fettuccine lines, we see the by 4 moon supporting this the break upward upon finding support here along this kind of purple zone. We started closing above the 200 daily moving average against the price of Bitcoin there. Rallied up all the way down up to this 0.382 line, which correlates nicely with my 2892 Satoshi resistance, which is kind of further supporting that kind of resistance line being resistance. And so I think this is now the tight range that we could see prices trading in, this kind of 0.618 line along the 2000 Satoshi level and under this 0.382 line around my 2887 resistance. I do believe this to be the key range that we can be kind of trading in the kind of near future here as we establish where prices are going to be going. I suspect upward in the long term, in my opinion, but based on the gains that we've been having in the very short term, like I said, like I keep saying, some sideways, some reaccumulation, some more buying opportunities could present themselves in the very near future here. Now, we have kind of the example I was referring to earlier on the USDT chart. So we have on the Bitcoin chart, prices against Bitcoin chart, we have the buy 4 and moon for the support to support the upward break from upon finding support, but after getting this rejection, we have only the sell 4. So there is still a moon present, but a sell 4 present, which from on the USDT chart, we were able to suspect, us to hold sideways once the sell 4 is present, because we have the moon to give us hope for a bullish break upwards. I believe the sell 4 is going to be the sell pressure suggesting some sideways, and the moon is going to be the buy pressure suggesting inevitable break upward after however many days to weeks of sideways that XRP needs before it is ready to take off again. And so there's lots going on. Like I said, key support found around I think 2263 Satoshi level there around my support line. I believe is going to be this range above the 0.618 and under 0.382 is going to be the very key range that we're going to have to look to see how prices interact with moving forward. That's what I still believe to be valid. The longer we stay above the 200 daily moving average, the more long-term bullish we are. And I do believe the less sell signals become present, the more kind of bullish we can be. But with this moon still in play, even though there's a sell 4, I still suspect we can be quite long-term bullish after this kind of little bit of sideways still. So now, if we consider the price of Bitcoin against US dollar tether on the Binance chart here, and we consider the fear and FOMO zone, we can see FOMO zone all the way up there at good old, I think it's like what, 84.6, yeah, 84.6 there. And so we see to be having this very key bounce off of the key range there that I kind of projected in a previous kind of analysis. We found support along 49K, 48.9 kind of thing. And this was a very, very healthy bounce, very strong bounce, and we've now rallied back up, printing a lower high and getting kind of rejected off of this resistance around 56,387. And so with that in mind, I suspect we can still see a continued kind of pullback to perhaps this Fibonacci level if I let that kind of draw. I do believe this to be the kind of key pullback zone that we could see prices interacting with, that kind of 52K level there to perhaps just under around 50K. So I still, in my opinion, suspect perhaps a couple wicks, a flash crash back down to the kind of low 50s again before we can kind of take off and see perhaps higher highs or all-time highs. I do suspect we've interacted with resistance and we're going to kind of come down again. I do see prices interacting similar to price action here, perhaps, before we continue upward. Like, see how we have this kind of rejection comes down, we have this healthy bounce, and we have some days of sideways, a wick back down to confirm support, and then kind of continue upward. I suspect this is as a possible outcome for price action moving forward in the short term. Although if we kind of we could still very much maintain bullishness, plow right through 57,600 resistance and interact with all-time highs again. But there's so much going on in the market, and there's so much indifference and indecision in the market that anything could really happen at the moment. I suspect continued pullbacks. I suspect further sideways, but you never know in the crypto sphere here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hearing my analysis. Check out EngineeringRobo, free, link in the description. Subscribe here on YouTube. Check out all the social media down below, and tune in for the next one.